we're getting into that discussion we told you earlier on. Who's in your circle? What do you need to know before you choose your friends? And do you know whether they'll be there throughout? Is it supposed to be a mutually beneficial deal between friends? What are the fundamental basics of friendship?
And are there different seasons in your life where you have different friends?
Absolutely. What do your friends tell you to do? We know some who are inspiring others to be helicopter pilots.
And others challenging them to bring my yangs around. So where do you stand? Do you also have your own boys club? Even as girls, if you're, let's say, and you're a woman, do you have that group of special friends that you can call when you're in trouble, when it comes to biashara, when it comes to even just life, family and friends? We want to hear from you. 22422 is our SMS line. You can also WhatsApp, or text us rather, on 22422 and tweet us directly at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag is Daybreak at Trevor Mbija at Zinzi_K.
Now you know how our friends get in touch with her. It's just WhatsApp.
What is it?
And whether do you also have a cycle within girls who you're specifically, can you pick who's your true friend and who's not?
Yes, it's very simple. You can tell their intentions.
What do you mean intentions? Do you wait for them when you're in trouble?
You can tell.
Is that the point where now?
You know, sometimes energy introduces itself. Someone's energy can introduce, even before they open their mouth. The energy introduces themselves.
All right.
So how do you know?
Yeah, we're about to find out.
No, you. How do you know?
It depends on how long you've been in my life. So then we've gone through trials together and I've seen how you react to certain things. Then now I know if you're the Mayengs kind or the true friends who will be there when things are bad.
All right.
Let's introduce our guest and get into that discussion. I'll start from the front row. Eddie Kimani, media consultant. Thank you so much for coming in. Followed by Dominic Kamau, psychology lecturer at Tangaza University. Asante sana for coming in as well. Then the back line is Ahmed Mohammed, aka Asmali, PR practitioner and also the community leader and also part of the business team of the Easily Business community. Thank you so much for coming in. And then last but not least, Andrew Kibe, media personality. Thank you very much for coming in as well. And as you can see, always glasses and everything.
It's great to have all of you here today.
Yeah. Dominic, I'll start with you now that you're already holding the microphone. What are the fundamental blocks of friendship? And I know Zinzi wanted to find out whether you felt the pressure when you saw the boys club and the kinds of things that they do. What are the fundamental blocks from the psychology angle that makes friendship a friendship? Because there are also those who are arguing that those 4, 5 or 6 people you're seeing, there's a reason why they're together. Yeah. Biggest advertiser, biggest PR, biggest agency as well, biggest commercial bank. So there are interests. Yeah. Okay,
so did I have pressure? Well, I think the bench happens right where we are seated, I guess, right? So, I mean, watching that conversation definitely had its inspirational moments, right? But of course, someone has to ask the questions that come. Was there mutuality? Because one of the things that forms a friendship is mutuality, a sense of mutuality. That so there is this past, present, future kind of continuum, if you want to speak about, where the past is where we have a shared history, even if it's not shared, similar, right? So you might have some similar patterns in our history that, help us to well together. At the same time, we have present values that also, we are concerned about. Whether those values, so there could be values or vices, but there's something that holds us together in our present form. And there's something that we are looking forward to, all right? So I would look, first of all, at mutuality. But to go back to your first question, did I feel pressure? I think for me, I was impressed by their sense of trust. If you hear the comments they were making about the concerns of Bob Colimo at the very end of his life, that take care of my wife, so and so. I forget the name. Is Tarukal? Prepare for my Takar. Yes. Prepare for my burial. I mean, that's a very deep sense of trust that is beyond business. So there are people who will be like, oh, this is all money together. But the thing is, as you move up the ladder of competence and the hierarchy, the friends that you have also continue to decrease because you're moving towards the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, the base is big. But as you move towards the top of the mountain, the edge becomes smaller and smaller. That means even the circle of friends that you have keep reducing, right? Because the people at the highest competence level are the minority at any one time, okay? So, and that's where you're moving towards a smaller and smaller club. It's not the money that brought them together. It's the fact that they had clear intentions. They were people who were very determined, very resilient, and because of that, they found themselves congregating together. So I think, for me, to start with, this would be the point.
Just a clarification. Allow me to just change the conversation a bit. That example you've given about a mountain, because you're a psychologist as well. What is it about success that narrows your team, your friends, your boys, your girls? What is it about success that does that? Okay.
So the thing is, there is, let me use the Pareto Principle, you know, the 80-20, right? So that people who have 80% of the resources are 20% of the population most of the time, even in an organization. 20% of an organizational makeup do 80% of the work in that organization, right? So what happens is the people who are highly competent always form a small minority of a population, based on their personalities, based on the fact that they are willing to be more resilient, based on the fact that they're willing to work harder and more time, right? So the fact this makes them reduce as you go up. Now, is it something that is in control of the population? I do not think so. It's a principle that's actually out of the control of the people, the Pareto Principle. It's a distribution that works across populations and across people, that the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. I mean, the fewer you become. So it's not something that is formed by capitalism or anything. It seems to work across domains, that people who are competent tend to reduce as the competence hierarchy increases, okay? I think that's what I would explain, I mean, for now.
All right, let's bring in Eddie on this and just passing the microphone to him. Eddie, your approach is rather different. You are inspiring men to open up to other men. But on what basis are you choosing the men to open up to? Because there's also the question of how then do I know I can share certain things with you and not with Dominic? Yeah.
My guiding principle, and it has always been, of course, after learning my lessons through my journey, and for me what stands out is authenticity.
Yeah.
That's for me is the key principle. And you get to that point when you realize that sometimes you might think you have the right people around you, but until you need them, until you fall down and you need somebody to hold you back up, and you see how many reach out down and say, without any expectations from you, and it could be one of the aspects of you realizing and identifying who your closest friends are. And the boys club mentality, of course, comes into play here. And a lot of times you'd find you might have gone through so much. By the time you're settling in and identifying those authentic friends, those authentic boys next to you, until you go through that time is when it actually just materializes. But of course, he's given some very, very important points which are very crucial in knowing how this works out, especially from that bottom top. As it goes, you start eliminating. And also as you go through experiences in life, you start realizing what is more important in your life and who is more important, who matters in your life.
So paint for me a picture then. When you're going through the struggles that you're going through with alcoholism and all that, are they the same friends you have now? Because there was also an issue that he raised of shared history and present values and vices. The boys you had were inspiring you to always call you, Eddie, let's go out. Did you end up dropping them?
Are they the same ones you'd call when you need help?
Funny enough, when you hit rock bottom, you're not the one choosing who will still be your friend.
They choose you now.
They choose you now, depending on what are you still bringing on the table. I would say there's still friends who hang down with me with all my challenges and all that, through my dark clouds and everything. Some of them are still there. But then again, for me, now I have the power to make the choice on who to associate with, because from the lessons that I learned, I now know how authentic friend A is from friend B. And now I have the power to decide, okay, I will associate with this person. I will bring this person closer. I will be much more open with this person. It's the choices now that I'm in a better place to make those choices and those decisions by knowing exactly who's there for me, and vice versa. Then you know, of course, who's the authentic friend. And again, authenticity for me is now my #1 principle.
So then friendship doesn't have to be a history of some sorts. You can meet today
it does,
with someone.
It still does play a role. But I mean, like my turnaround moment, as I'd mentioned in my Engage talk, I just bumped into a stranger and it happened to be my Damascus moment. So sometimes history, yes, does play a role, but it does happen that you connect with somebody out of the blue. Yeah, and again, in how you connect, it can get complicated explaining it right now. But then again, it does happen when you meet and bump into somebody and you click and you connect. And there's that possibility too.
All right.
Yeah.
Ahmed, what do you base your friendship on? Because I know I've seen you hang around with very senior people. Is it that they're your friends? Does it rub off? Is it a mutually beneficial sort of arrangement? Where do you base your friendship on? And do you have different friends at different stages?
I mean, friendship is not something that you are taught at school. Yeah. It's something that comes naturally. And a friend is someone, it's not the person you have known longest, it's the person who stuck with you the longest. And it's about, sometimes, of course, there's that human selfishness in us, that you pick your friends according to your needs. But it's something that, it's someone, a friend is someone who will guide you to the right path. In fact, in Islam, for example, you are told to choose your friends wisely. Will this person take you astray, or will this person take you to the right path? Yeah. So it's a human nature. We pick our friends according to our needs. For example, will this? I mean, I challenge us all. Yeah. How many of your friends do you know from primary school or secondary school or even university? Some of my university mates, I can't even remember their names. And it was just a few years ago. So, and some of them, we still are in contact with each other. Yeah. So it's not about needs, it's not about personality, it's about your beliefs sometimes, rather than anything else.
All right. Let's pass the mic to Andrew. And I find, Andrew, you have a very vibrant online presence, so to speak. Do you have friends who have the confidence to tell you that tone down on that, or you're doing the right thing, keep going on?
Friendship is overrated, right? As you've said, it's all about convenience. You're with somebody as long as you need them. The day that need stops being there, you're going to find a way of dismissing that person from your life. Don't think that, oh, it's my brother, my sister. Friendship is overrated. And we've been putting so much burden on people for them to be a certain way. Well, us guys are not that way, right? I'm with this girl because I want to be with her for the time I want to be with her. I'm with Eddie. When you went through your issue, how many guys stayed? Right? I think
you can count his fingers.
Yeah, but if you have a boatie, and today you say I have a boatie, I'm telling you right now, if I say I have a boatie on this station, 3,000 guys will say they're available. But if I tell them Eddie is going through a situation, can we just changia for him 100 bob? Yeah. Guys will change the station and go to another one. So friendship is overrated, right? Yeah. But what I say is this, is that I have been through many friends. As in, you come, you get a friend, this friend stays for a particular point in your life. He cannot handle maybe your next level. Okay? Because you're going to keep growing. There's some friends that are going to have to drop off. Like when you were in primary, you used to say, oh, this is my friend to death. This one I will never, ever, ever. You guys, from one second term, you've already forgotten about that friend you are saying you'll never, ever forget. Right? Like my dad used to tell me, there'll always be another night to go to carnival. And I'm like, no, Dad, this is the night.
This is it.
Right? So yes, I want us to think that friendship is not a big deal. Yeah. Right? These are conveniences. When you meet somebody, you do what you can with that person for that time. Beyond that time, it may expire.
So do you have those people who you call when you're going through issues? And are they different people for you, or is it? I
had the unfortunate, or is it fortunate, misfortune of being arrested by the alcohol guys another time when the car was driving itself home. I shouldn't be saying this on national radio, but yes, it happened. So when I picked my phone, I only had one phone call to make, and I had to be sure that this person was going to do what? Was going to come through. Because it's very embarrassing to make that call and say, hey, listen, nemeshiko na alcohol, kuja unitoe. So I looked at my phone and I thought, and I said, there's only one person who keeps coming to mind. That's the guy I called. And that's the guy who tried to do whatever he could to sort out the situation. But how many guys, they even did an advert. If today you are to call maybe 5 people and tell them, I'm in a situation, send me 30K, how many would send you?
Maybe none, depending.
How many guys right now, if you tell them, you guys in Meshiko, Karao, come to Central Police Station, how many would come?
So those
guys will give you all sorts of excuses. Oh, I'm just about to get into an interview. I'm just about to do this. I'm just about to do that. So friendship is overrated. Don't ever think that friendship goes beyond what you see. Yeah. Sometimes we get lucky. And you get that one friend who's going to stick closer to you than even your mother. Then you're lucky. But for now, I don't even have that friend.
And that's an interesting perspective we're looking at there. We're trying to see and get more feedback from you as well. 22422 is the SMS line. You can always tweet at Citizen TV Kenya, Trevor Mbija, at Zinzike. Use the hashtag Daybreak. What do you base your friendship on? Andrew says it's all about convenience. And now George Kua joins us now as a travel executive. And you just walked into us speaking about the fundamental basics of friendship. What do you base your friendship on, from your perspective? And did you get a bit of pressure when you saw the boys club hanging out, inspiring each other to be helicopter pilots? And I don't know what you remember your boys for most. What were they inspiring you, daring you to do? I don't know. It's on, yes.
First, friends, people like Eddie who called to wake me up in the interviews like this, you can see. No one called. Anyway, back. I think I just walked in when Kibe was talking, and we must understand that first there were the early friends, yeah, who are primarily situational. So friends are who live near you, who went to school near you, and who you grew up with generally. And as you transition, they transition to different schools and ABCD. So some friendships fade. But more primarily, you change. Yeah. I think as you evolve, the kind of friends you keep change with the values that you do. It's very rare. Some people are very, very privileged to have friends they have carried through all their phases of life. That being said, there's a whole idea that friendship is what he said. Right now, if you need 10,000, if you're stuck, who will come for you? From my experience, it's more who do you give the 10K to. I think that's the way I choose to see friendship. Yeah. Who would you answer the 10K to? Friendship, just like relationships, anytime you put expectations on them, you're in a lot of trouble. There are a lot of friends who I have helped and they have not helped back. There are a lot of friends who helped me and have not helped back. Which one am I a true friend of? In terms of the boys club, since I'm not looking for a job from any of them, let me say this freely. There are a lot of circumstantial friendships. Yeah, I don't think, there are people who say your last friends, you formed them at 21. If you look at these gentlemen, they formed their friends in their 50s and 60s. This boys club. And they are bound by a situation. There's a situation of friendship. I am hard pressed to believe that if any of them lost their rank and profile, they would be in that boys club.
They wouldn't be in the boys club.
I highly doubt. I'm just saying, as an outsider, yeah. I hope I'm truly wrong. There's a lot of pressure that comes. I mean, of course, there's a network that comes from them sticking together. But if one of them was fired and disbarred or never to make it again, are we saying they will stay in this boys club? So you need to understand there's a lot of situational friendship, there's a lot of locational friendship. When you work here at Citizen, there's a best friend you have. If you move to NTV, I really think that friendship will start to dim. So I think I would more focus on what kind of friend am I, as opposed to what kind of friends do I have.
All right, Ahmed?
I mean, Andrew and my friend here, they're both right, but it's not all doom and gloom. People are not created the same. There are some people who are good-hearted. So sometimes you have to ask internally, is it you who changed or is it your friend who changed? Because, I mean, there was this guy, the Githeri man, who was given the HSC, and he was everyone's friend for some time. And now he's languishing in some poverty, and no one, especially the media were his friends, quote unquote, when he was the star. But now I don't see any media house looking for him and asking him about his problems at the moment. So it's about situation. But there are, like I said, good-hearted people out there. There are some people who will move mountains to make you happy, to make sure that you're okay. I mean, I could be lucky. I have some very good friends that ask me about my family, my kids, and they ask you, please make sure you say hi to your wife and kids, pass our greetings. We're coming over on Friday, for example, today, after the prayers, we have biryani, we come together. And none of us is interested in other person's success or failure or whatever.
So when you come together, what
it's about sharing.
What conversation are you having, even as you have that biryani?
Yes. Before Andrew comes in, I know he will.
No, but I have a question.
Yes.
That friend of yours who's coming over, are they from your religion?
Most of them, but not all of them.
So if today that person was to not be part of a religion, would you still invite them over the same way?
Of course. I mean, part of the boys' club, Jeff Koinange is someone that I call a brother, not even a friend. He's also in my boys' club. We have gone to, for example, Kilimanjaro to have a meal together. And we don't discuss anything. We don't discuss careers. We don't discuss anything.
So what
we
does
just
that
want to have that
conversation look
feel-good lunch. And we have this every Friday. We have
this
is
is
a circle of fun.
situational, just like Kua said. If you move from that level and go down, bro, you're out of that boys' club. Don't lie to yourself. That boys' club is dependent until we went to Mount Kilimanjaro. Do you know how much it costs to go to Mount Kilimanjaro?
No, it's not Mount Kilimanjaro.
It's a restaurant. It doesn't matter.
It's a restaurant.
Even Java. If you cannot afford Java, you get friendship gone.
But what I'm saying is, Trevor, is it's about us sometimes. It's about our attitude towards other people, honestly. And it's about that positivity mindset.
Okay.
If you have people around you that you think you click together and you talk, and sometimes talking is good, that's all it is. And when you have that senior of biryani and some meat, and you talk and you have a hearty laughter and you talk and you discuss general issues like the weather, for example, and everyone goes their way. That's what friendship is all about.
Kimani, is it possible to do what Ahmed is saying, the fact that you can sit down, have a meal with someone and not discuss your careers, you not discuss money, not discuss those sort of things? Because what conversation do men have? What conversation do you men have when you come together?
Well, it might depend on various, again, the situational bit just comes in. But bottom line for me, my opinion, authenticity, depending on whatever kind of conversation you're having, authenticity should be the driving factor here. Because I cannot sit down with somebody and be pretending I'm either sympathizing or empathizing, whatever situation, because we're human beings. We're meant to connect. We're meant to understand and empathize with each other. But if I'm not authentic enough, and I should not be seated there, or I should not allow that sitting in the first place. So that's when now I'm able to choose my friends and people I associate with based on how authentic are you. And once you go through these phases, these challenges, these dark seasons in your life, you will develop a very keen eye in knowing how authentic that person is. And sometimes it's better to have those 3 friends and you'll be satisfied. But those 3 friends are most authentic. And they're not expecting anything from you. You're not expecting anything from them. But of course, you come together and you hold each other's hands depending on whatever one is going through, either positive or negative.
And you said you're helping men talk, men-to-men conversations. Why? Why is that important?
I believe men, especially right now with the conversation of mental health and depression all put together, men now need safe spaces. And my idea is to create and facilitate safe spaces for men to start conversing amongst themselves. I think men, I think we lost the plot somewhere. And we need to start reconnecting together again and address certain issues that are affecting us. And they're really, really affecting us right now. So the idea is just to, help us start and spark conversations amongst ourselves, not only checking up on how well you're doing. When do I need to get you a drink? Do I need to, hang out and go for a road trip? We should have, again, also deep conversations about our issues that are currently affecting us right now, and might also help build up the conversation between us, the men and the young men out there. So that's what I'm aiming at.
Right, Dominic?
Yeah, no, I just want to respond to a few things. As he has mentioned, it's not all doom and gloom. So when sometimes I go to high schools, teenagers have this huge array of friends. But as you grow older, there's a certain narrowing down, all right? So you start narrowing down on interest. You start narrowing down on various things that you want to do. Interest, career, people, you start narrowing down. Even if you look at Jesus himself, he came for the world. But then he selected 12. Among the 12, there were 3, Peter, James, and John. Among the 3, there was John. All right. So there was a certain narrowing down to a particular set of friendship. I think that's very important. Number 2, when I was here last, I said, you are the sum total of the 5 people you drink coffee with. All right. So that is a very important thing to realize. In that old cliche, or no, it's not a cliche, but it's a good statement that says that show me who you are, and I mean show me your friends, and I'm going to tell you who you are. Next thing, if you find yourself that you're the smartest person in a room, it means it's time to change that room, because you're no longer useful in that room anymore, all right?
How true is it, though, that you are the sum total of the 5 people you have coffee with? How true is that?
Because unlike a magnet, likes attract when it comes to relationships. You are going to attract the people that you are. Take, for example, when I have a client and says, I cannot make friends, the first thing I ask them is, are you lovable? All right? Because you might be looking for friends who are, let's say, kind and generous and listening, but you do not listen. You're not generous. You're not kind. So do you have the values that you are looking for? All right? Because you might be going out there saying, people don't listen to me. People do not understand me. But neither do you. And take, for example, gauge yourself when you're listening to somebody. Someone tells you, I have gone through a breakup. And when that person tells you that, what do you say? You start saying, even me, I have gone through a breakup. What have you done? You have hijacked that person's story. And you have not listened. And you have not understood. And you are pushing people away. Okay? So at the end of the day, when you find yourself alone, it's practically because you two you're not lovable enough. You're not making yourself attractive to people, right? So that absolutely has to happen. Now, as I finish up, there was this Harvard study of adult development. They accompanied 268 people since 1938, when Harvard University was still an all-male boys' school. Up to today, there are only 19 men remaining from this, and they are accompanying now their spouses and their children, now totaling to around 1,500 people. And they wanted simply to find out what makes for human flourishing over a period of time. And they have found out that the biggest predictors of human flourishing is not social class, is not IQ, is not genes, it is friendship, community, family, friends. Without that, their physical and mental capability went down drastically. Imagine this. A person who is in a terrible marriage experiences twice as much more pain when they are sick than a person in a good, healthy marriage. Now think of that. That's why I would solve for that.
Jojo was accountant.
Oh, man.
He's a psychology lecturer, by the way. That's the reason he takes that angle.
I'll make him quit today. No. I'm just messing. So I think at times we started with a narrative when we were young. Yeah. We used to have what's called BFF. We had best friends, and so is best friends and all that. And somewhere along the way, we kind of refused to let go of the title of who are your best friends. Yeah. I have a very close personal friend who I've not seen for 10 years. But I know when we meet, it'll be like we never unplugged. I have a casual acquaintance that I see every week, who if you see the two of us cackling and laughing, you would imagine we're best friends. Now, what is in my view, my personal view, the defining thing about friendship is acceptance, not similarity. Okay. Acceptance. Because I'm not a neat freak. I have a friend who has OCD. You get? I have a friend who believes in waking up at 4 a.m. This idea, I don't wake up at 4 a.m. Like, so, and the idea that somebody can struggle and say, Ikua is like that, John is like that, but I take him and he's like that, is the key part of friendship. Going back to what you talk about, what men talk about, this is very important. Us men, because we struggle with when you hear when you tell somebody's problems, your problem, it sounds like you're asking for a solution. And also on the other side, when you hear somebody's problem, if you don't have a solution, you become extremely nervous. So why are you telling me? What are we supposed to do? We don't engage like ladies and hug and think it's sharing. Men, sharing means I have a solution. Now, what does that do? We talk about situations which both of us are incapable of solving or influencing. What is that? Sports, women. So if you go and talk about in politics, so if you go and sit in a club, a coffee shop, or whatever, people will speak on the most shallow level, yet somebody here is going through depression, somebody here has just lost their job, somebody here doesn't even have money to pay for that very coffee. You will know when you are living. So and this is what I've been encouraging people around me. There's a saying, when two men meet and no wisdom is shared, those are boys talking. Men have to share wisdom. And it starts with you. As I said, this whole thing starts with you. So, for example, when I meet Eddie, when I meet Kibe, we can talk about that girl, we can talk about sports, but if I ask him, I'm really struggling with raising money for my company. What are your thoughts? In that narrative, he can even go and say how he's so about raising money, all that. It didn't even have to be things that progress us. He can say, you know what, my wife snores. What do I do? You know, it can be a rubbish talk, but it's something that helps my natural being. So if we raise the conversation and do a lot of acceptance and understand that the whole idea of BFF was a high school and primary thing, there's a friend for everything. I have a friend who I call when I'm stuck in this. I have a friend when I want this. I have a friend for this. The idea that one friend is supposed to understand you and sort out all your realms,
it's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic.
Too much pressure on one person.
Too much pressure on one.
All right, we'll come back to, I see Kibe wants to delve into this, but we need to take a quick break now. We have we have feedback as well. Let's sample some of them very quickly before we take that brief break. Let's see. Chauro says, friends build or break you. They are like medicine. If wrongly consumed, causes harm. I can have friends, but I choose wisely what I consume from them. Okay.
All right, still on Twitter, #Daybreak. That is the ticket to the conversation. Engineer Lazaro, good morning to you. You say, I hate keeping big company of friends, so my circle strictly includes people of my profession. We spent most of our time consulting amongst ourselves as TV technicians. #Daybreak.
All right, TV technicians there. Maybe they're also trying to fix our issues here. SMS. Kinyanjui from Kikuyu Town says, I had people around me that I grew up with on one part and people I worked with on the other. On losing my job, I lost almost all friends. And on recovering, I decided from then onwards to be a loner. The less attachment to anyone, the better. Definitely agrees with Andrew Kibe there.
SMS 22422 is our SMS line. Nixon, you say, most ideal friendship is one based on good moral standards and is all round. For example, supportive in all situations. Hard to gauge this on online friendships.
All right. Let's take now that quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about inspiration, whether your friends need to inspire you or is it deep down, there's also some sense of competition between the two of you. When I see you doing too well, I'm like, aye. That's it just a bit.